Let's discuss an observation I made over the weekend. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. So, I've been on a workout kick a little bit more recently, and I had a peer who wanted to kind of go hiking with me. And, you know, there's there's a nature trail very close to my home. So I said, why don't we go back here? And I don't normally go hiking on nature trails or, in the parks and things like that on the weekends. One, because it's usually crowded, right? Everybody wants to come out. Two, because of cyclists. I feel like cyclists don't respect pedestrians enough on these walking paths, and they can be quite aggressive and dangerous. So I'm not really a fan of cyclists, and it's not something I want to dispute or whatever. I just know what my experience has been with cyclists. So we went walking, and by the way, this is a place that I've hiked at many, many, many times over. And so I went and I've hiked there many times over, and I usually go during the week early in the morning. And so we went hiking, and it was busy. And one of the observations I made, I was kind of observing, and she and I were talking. There was a lot of men out on this hiking trail, and I noticed something unusual that I've never noticed, that I don't notice usually when I go during the week. Not only were there a lot of men out, but there were a lot of men who were very shirtless and skimpily dressed. Like low cut shorts and things like that, sort of for walking and running on this trail. And I said, wow, it's not usually like this. And I'm very familiar with this place and very familiar with the dynamics and things like that. And this is pretty safe. And I said, wow, it's not normally like this, where these men are all so shirtless and, they're coming over and they're talking and, all this kind of stuff. And I said, wow, this is interesting. There seems to be, a lot of people, a lot of men seeking attention. And it got me thinking, I come on here and I talk to you guys, a lot about like double standards and things like that. Again, when I go during the week and hike this trail many times during the week, men are usually fully clothed. Walk, jog in groups or whatever. It's pretty pleasant. And so this is almost like, they're almost like naked a little bit, on the weekend. And I said, oh, I think, there's sort of a cruising atmosphere here, and it got me thinking a lot about like, when men say, women aren't fully dressed or they're sort of exposing certain parts of their body, that they're looking for attention. And you guys know how I feel about men and attention. I've talked with you all about that. And so I feel like, again, there's some sort of projection here, like, not that women are necessarily looking for attention with less clothes, but, sometimes the male species is definitely looking for a lot of attention. Where, again, when they know that a lot of women and people are going to be out, they're less clothed. And so I thought that was a pretty interesting observation. And, they were very sociable. So it wasn't just like they were clothed. They weren't clothed, but they're very sociable. So they want to make sure that, hey, you look at me. And it was very interesting. I'll tell you about this little incident that happened. It's very interesting. My friend and I were kind of walking back. We had finished up the nature hike, and so we were walking back to the car. And, there was a man that was coming towards us as we were walking towards the car. And so we veered off to go to the parking space. And he's like, oh, I thought we were going to, I was thinking we were going to run into each other on the sidewalk. And I said, wow, I hate to disappoint you. So it's like, more like I want you to see me and I want you to interact with me, and I'm kind of looking for those interactions. A lot of that coming from the male species over the weekend. So I think, they definitely, it just kind of struck me as interesting how like the culture, even on the hiking trails, which I frequent, are very different on the weekend outside of the cyclists, of course. So anyway, just an interesting observation that I wanted to share with you all. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, follow, and share if this is helpful.